My wife of 10 years, Sarah, was actually at home when I arrived back from work on Wednesday evening. I knew something was not right, and she asked for me to sit at the table because we needed to talk. Oh, that was the first of too many bad conversations I read about. Then she admitted that I must know that she loves me and would never do anything to jeopardize us. I could tell that this is not good, so I looked at her and said, "Alternarissima?" She took a deep breath. This was turning out very, very poorly. Like I told you, I love you and want to grow old with, but I have decided that I would like to take a lover. Yeah, that took me completely by surprise, and to say I was not happy would be an understatement. So let me get this straight. You love me, you don't want to hurt our relationship, but you want to be with someone else. I asked. Oh, that is a bit crude. I have eyes on a fuck buddy. I never wanted to do anything like that. It was just here and there sort of thing. I will always be honest in this matter. I love you well enough to separate those two things. Sarah smiled. Then if you truly love me like you say, do it for my sake, because this is something I know I have to so. I mean, I just do know why the *****, you would have to think that way, and how in your mind it could not affect us. Have you planned ahead with your lover already? She asserted, we are planning a little getaway for the weekend after next. And a question for you, please try to be honest. How would you respond if I asked for your hand in something so out of the ordinary? I could see her wheels spinning, and I knew she was not going to tell me the truth for two reasons. She would have hit the roof just over that suggestion of my doing something like this. But you tell me and promise to not let it destroy us together with everything else, she said. Because you know damn well that had anyone even whispered such a random thought, you would have lost your mind, I groused. And that she wasn't expecting was the response, "Hey, I never thought you would be mad with me. I thought you would love me enough," said she was the special one to allow that kind of thing. Well, it must be illegal, whatever you were smoking. Think I was going to just give the go-ahead that sure, go fuck this guy. So I'm just supposed to stay at home waiting for you, so you can screw him all weekend. She said, maybe I hadn't thought it all through well enough. You think? Yes, I never paused to think about a few considerations, like perhaps my emotions. Are you going to do this or not? If I say no to it? I don't know. I never really thought you would say no. You didn't plan this out very thoroughly. I tell you what, let me think about this in a few days. You and I can talk about this on Sunday evening after I have the opportunity to gather my thoughts. Tonight you shocked me. I moved to our bedroom and started packing my things into the guest room. What are you doing? It's this. I'd rather not be sharing a bed with you when clearly all that was in your mind just then were other than you and me. After I was in the guest room, I slammed its door. I barely slept, but at least came up with a plan. It was also I then decided that were she to do this, it would be over between us. The following day I emerged at around midday and did not say one single word to Sarah. I called into work for the next 2 days saying it was a personal matter. Then I went to work. I popped 3 voice activation recorders. I placed one beside her phone, another in the bedroom, and a third in her car. Also, I bought another one of those phone tap recorders to wire with our phones. Our next destination, the cell phone provider. Because her phone was in my name, so I could easily request a copy of her telephone charges. I proceeded to check her email accounts while she was still at work. According to me, she had opened one, which I haven't, but with a simple password. At least I had a plethora there that she hadn't already done him yet. So I configured it so redirect to me any email on this account without its knowing that. Last up for the day was some GPS locators. They were pretty diminutive and easy to conceal. I planned to slip one in her wallet because she would definitely take all of money and credit cards with her. One would go with her and the other one in her car. I had a full day, but I had it all arranged so that I could keep track of her. The only other thing that I needed in this vein was to acquire her cell phone and read whatever messages she might have in there. I also wanted to plant the GPS devices in the evening as well. Thankfully, I had access to her email, and sure enough, there were a few compositions between she and Frank Jones. Frank Jones was a colleague, and I wanted to destroy him the way he had destroyed me. The emails left no doubt about it. Saturday, the following weekend, was on. I knew that anything I said would be irrelevant. You will recall my visit to that very well-outfitted divorce lawyer on Friday. I said, then get the ball rolling on a divorce based upon adultery. There was also a man named Frank Jones, and I wanted to sue him. Easy if I proved it. My lawyer. I sent him every email and my phone records. I told them that soon enough they would have audio from me as well. He was delighted and told me he would kick things off straight away. I even gave Sarah the silent treatment when she returned home that evening, and I went out to eat and have a few beers at the bar while she made supper. So I arrive back. She stands up and starts talking to me. I walked right past her and into the guest room, slamming that door. She only had a chance to save our marriage if she called off the plans to Frank, but I didn't think that was going to happen. That was until on Sunday afternoon when she messages me to see if I want a social call. I told her we had to talk, and she sat me down in the kitchen. I went first, and you probably guessed that I do not care for your demand at all, and I have thought long about this, and there is no way that me being okay with it. You told me this would not affect our marriage, but as you can see, it has already taken a heavy toll on us. And why thank you. Well, I can tell you're not very happy. Maybe if you had seen it from my perspective, you would have been slightly more open. I've been feeling like shit as first have I tried to see this through your eyes for once, but then, no matter how I'm mounting this on a plate, it's FUCKEDUP. So my answer has to be no. How could you be so selfish? If you love me, I am the selfish one. You want to be with someone else, and that is actually the most selfish thing I have ever heard of in my whole life. What if I did it anyway? You will face some really heavy punishments of having sex outside our marriage. We promised the same vows a decade ago, and they said you would only be with me. I didn't want you to know, but it's just something that I have to do. Oh well, I suppose this conversation is done. It seems just said to yourself, you need read why the heck not do this. I pushed away from the table and walked to my own house. To their emails, I drove my laptop to a Wi-Fi spot and started watching. She was furious and told him she was going anyway. That was good, he said, because room 125 at the Hilton in Kansas City this Friday and Saturday nights. I instantly had that room booked for Thursday night. This was all becoming far too simple. They also had a date Saturday night. What more likely happened? A fancy dinner, followed by some dancing and hot sex. Sarah replied telling him that she had purchased some sexy lingerie just for their date. I'm never the last to eat him just eating when I'm seeing mails going back and forth. They had moved on to planning their weekend, despite my protest. Check-in was at 3:00, so he would pick her up around 1, or they could leave as soon as possible, because the facility is 2 hours away. I was shocked that he was coming over to the house. I said I may have to evaluate what it was that wanted me in there. I even booked a room for the weekend. It was just similar enough to their own that they could tune in all the signals. I went shopping for things I needed the all days after that. Right before winter testing, I throw a pair of tiny fiber optic HD camcorders into my bag. I had intended to hang them in the room on Thursday, so all was set up for recording their weekend affair. This would be beautiful ammo in my next filing for divorce. I completely ignored her throughout, but the end of Wednesday was when she got past last chance. She would have a final reprieve. If she voted for Frank, it was over. I said, come and sit at the table. Let's talk for a minute. She still had something like a smile on her face. I said, have you thought any more about this? I have, and I continue to feel that. This is the absolute very last time I am going to say any of this. Do yourself a favor and don't ruin what we have to fuck some dude around the corner. This is your final warning, and if you do continue, it will cost you dearly. Frank is going on Friday afternoon, and I will be back Sunday afternoon. I hope we can get over this and move on. So you chose Frank over me? Guess that tells me everything I need to know. Huh. I got up and left the room. I walked into the guest room and, as per usual, slammed the door. I was just not going to let anyone take me down. I had my last divorce, and hell yes, someone was gonna pay for this time. I went to work Thursday morning and told my boss I needed the afternoon off as well as Friday. What was going on, he wanted to know, and I told him that I am just getting ready for my divorce from Sarah. He was sad, but told me he would be there for support, and I could take as much time off that I needed. In fact, I drove to KC Thursday and stayed in their room. I got all the nodes set up and tested everything to ensure it's operational. I needed to get everything so I could walk away with all the proof for divorce, and then I was gonna kick his ass. After reaching my destination, I tested all of the cameras using my laptop and ensured that they were pointing towards proper directions. I sat in one place for a while to allow them time off, and then moved around the lot testing that every single bulb lit up. Everything was perfect. And then I walked down the halls, counting how many doors it would pass that weekend to reach where I was stationed. Again, it was okay. I drove home and thought about the end of my marriage. I had one more stop to make. I went to a gun store and purchased some pepper spray. I was going to use this in order to screw up the kiss cam theme with their intimate date. Sarah was standing in the kitchen when I arrived. She stood looking at me, waiting for a reply. I just walked right past her and did not say anything. I slammed my door again. Sarah walked into my room trying to be friendly. I told her to keep it for Frank, 'cause I didn't need the pity. I walked away from her, and then she disappeared. I do not remember sleeping well that night, but I had everything assembled to finish this off. I woke up like normal Friday morning, and I left without saying a word to her. Went to the lawyer and signed DOS reordered papers, equals agements. I shared with him that I would have all the evidence gathered on Monday and to process her at work in the late afternoon. I demanded they also serve papers to Frank concurrently. Alienation of affection was my great lawsuit against him. I then checked Sarah's never-used GPS, and it said she was at the hair salon. I got into the house, went over to her suitcase, and pulled out all of her sexy new underwear. They were in fact very sexy. I just wished they had been for me. I donned rubber gloves and retrieved my mace from the glove box. I sprayed the inside of her panties and bra cups with it, set everything back in place into her suitcase. This was going to be fun. I emptied each and every single joining bank account, withdrew all the cash it contained, waking to our branch, followed by closing all the credit cards with both names on them. I then returned home to tell my wife goodbye. If it was 12:30, then I knew she would be putting on her new guy. I stepped into the house and saw there was no Sarah. Oh well, she must be upstairs getting ready. I walked to her room and went inside. She is in some of the sexy underwear I had bought her. Her hands flew to her battered breasts, but I told her not be so thick and that I'd already seen yes. She had an amazing new hairstyle, hair styled up to form spiral curls on her head. Makeup was just right, and she wore lingerie kept minimalistic. I had to have my say. Wow, you sure look great. Wish you did put in that effort for me. You know it's not like that. All I want to do is leave it a good impression. You're much more worried about what he thinks than you ever were with me, I repeated. I'm sorry. Just trying to look sexy for a day. Well, you were sexy. You know that I only did was love you _ends_with. Tilde, tilde, tilde. I know you love me. I walked over to her and held out my left hand. I started to slide rings off her fingers. You broke my heart by the I love you part. This ring I gave to you on the day of our wedlock. We made our vows and pledged to forsake all others. I found that a little helpful, not you. I do not wish to feel the ring I placed on your finger while you were keeping another man's dick erect. I am keeping the engagement ring because it was my mother's. I slipped both rings in my pocket and let her hand go. She looked stunned but didn't argue with me. I won't be here when he comes, but I don't want him to come into my house. You cannot let him in here. If you do, I will castrate him and fix you so no man will ever look at you again. That's a promise. He cannot come into my house. Do you understand? Yes, I will not let him in. That's good. I will be watching. Why are you being like this? Because the love of my life has just trashed that love. I hope this weekend is worth the consequences. Goodbye, Sarah. I turned and walked away from my soon-to-be ex-wife. She was hollering at me as I walked out, but I was done with her. I parked down the street so I could watch. I made sure I was parked where Sarah could see me. If he went in the house, I was going to jail, but they would be hurting worse. Pretty soon his car drove up. He walked up to the door and rang the bell. Sarah opened the door and came right out with her suitcase in hand. She sat it down and put her arms around his neck before giving him a long, deep kiss. As he picked up her suitcase, she looked my way and gave me a smug grin. She sat right next to him in the car and gave me the smug look again as they drove past me. I flicked her off and the smug look disappeared. I went back to my house and changed all the locks and the garage door code. I grabbed the suitcase I had already packed and drove to KC. I checked in, went into my room, and immediately set up my laptop. The camera pointing to the bottom of the bed showed Sarah naked. It was obvious he'd already screwed her. It was also pretty clear that he hadn't lasted too long. He came out of the bathroom. He was naked, and I had to laugh. He had a very small tool. Sarah was accustomed to much more meat than this little thing could deliver. About that time, Frank walked to the bed by Sarah. He was hard again and ready for another go at her. She smiled at him and opened her arms. I laughed when she reached for his little tool. He didn't have to take it easy because I would be surprised if she could even feel that little thing inside her. Wow, did she make a lousy trade. This guy was pitiful. I could see a bit of frustration on her face as he rested. It did not appear like she was going to be very happy with the results of this weekend. She was going to come home frustrated, then get kicked out on her ass the next day. He was soon ready to go again, and he gave her another less than thrilling 4-minute session. He was already done 3 times, and she wasn't even close. This was going better than I had ever hoped it might. I had to quit watching and went out for supper and had a couple of drinks. I left everything recording to have all I might need for the lawyer and also to rub her nose in what a loser she had picked. When I returned, he was asleep, and she was looking even more frustrated. This really was fun after I got over the pain of losing my wife. I went to bed thinking about how much fun I was going to have with them tomorrow. I thought about some of the hot babes I had seen in the bar and knew I would soon be free to pursue them. I fell asleep with a smile in my heart. There was no more anguish for me as my course was plotted, and I knew where I was going. I awoke refreshed and ready for some fun. I took a shower, then went out for a nice breakfast and picked up some snacks in case I could not get away later. I went back to my room and called the local florist. I ordered a bouquet for Sarah. I had always given her one just like this on our anniversary. Since there would not be another anniversary, I wanted her to think about what she was jeopardizing. I asked for it to be delivered at 11:00 a.m. I hoped my timing might be good, but it didn't matter. The timing was perfect. They got dressed and went out for a while. When they came back, they began making out. They were soon naked, and he had just mounted her when there was a knock at the door. The florist delivered the flowers, and I could see a pensive look on Sarah's face before she became angry. She got out her cell phone and dialed. My cell phone was soon ringing. I answered, and we had a short conversation. "Hello. Hello, how are you doing?" "Not worth a damn. My wife is out drilling some other guy while I sit here getting more angry every time I think about it. Why do you ask? It's not like you give a damn." "Well, I just got a bouquet of flowers, just like you always get me for our anniversary. I wanted to know what you were doing." "I don't know how you could think I did that. First off, you and your rocket scientist boyfriend kept me in the dark about where you were going. Secondly, if I had sent you flowers, they would have been ragweed, and the card would have read to my cheating sea wife. That's not very nice. Right, and your little Frankie is? Maybe they will give you some idea of what you're throwing away." I saw a very stunned look on her face as I turned my phone off. She was soon dialing again, but of course there was no answer. She tried a few more times, then gave up. She told him what I had said, and he assured her that I would get over it. That was not going to happen until I was rid of the both of them. She wasn't in the mood for sex, but after a while she began to give in. So I called for a pizza delivery and ordered Sarah's favorite pizza. They arrived just as he was mounting her again. He was furious and said he would not pay, but the delivery guy checked the room number against his mobile. Frankie ended up paying because he was threatened to be reported to the police. They ate anyway, since they had already paid the entry fee. They ate their lunches, they talked for a while, and then Frankie was bugging her again. As they started to get a little of the sexy, I called out for her favorite sandwich from across my room and made an order with our local deli. The sandwich was brought up about a minute inside her, across the bar, no less. Sarah just stared at the sandwich when she saw him. He must have figured out where they were. I didn't let her down, and she proceeded to berate him for 20 minutes before he ended up telling me about my rocket scientist crack, as they thought I'd somehow acted to her new email that he mentioned it in. She had finally caught on, and it only took her a while. One woman said to her husband, "Honey, she's smarter than that, and it would have been nothing for her." They got dressed and went out. She said when they come back, then keep her clean and dressed to go for their romantic date. She had promised to reward him tonight. They left, and I laughed so hard my eyes watered. The neighbors then took a shower and changed their clothes. Sarah then slipped into her sexiest lingerie and gave him a fashion show. So he tried to overstep themselves with her in sex, and she said that they had their date. I pondered how quickly her shock would manifest itself. She went and changed as well. She looked stunning. I knew I was running a bit of a risk with my surprise, but it would be funny if things worked out the way they had in my imagination. They went off together, and I stayed back, waiting for them to come. Back. They were back in about an hour, and Sarah bolted to the bathroom, stripping as she went into the shower. That woman was in there for what seemed like an eternity, and when she finally came out, her breasts and vaginal area were so red they stood out against the white. 2 sore, red welts across. Shit, they looked painful, and no little Frankie for a while there tonight either. Sarah lay back on the bed moaning. Frankie tried to cop a feel, and Jill went on all screaming that she was feeling crummy, and it wasn't time for any of this nonsense. She said there had to be something in the new lingerie that she was allergic to. Little did she know. Then I put together all my videos and made DVDs for the attorney as well as being Frankie's wife. I prepared everything and went to bed. A great day again that put back the smile on me. It seemed all was not well in paradise. Alas, its genesis lay with me. It appeared. By early Sunday morning, I called it quits and made my way back to the waterfront. When she got back home, Sarah would be in for a lot more hell. And then today it would end. Later that day, when Frankie dropped her off, he didn't even walk in the house carrying luggage. He just let her out. I was on the couch watching football and didn't even look away from the television as she walked in. And she said she's home and I just fuck her. And so she walked around, in between me and the TV, giving a sultry little smile at me. I figured that you would be happy to see me. You were not dead. What would give that idea? Do I look stupid to you since last time we spoke? I know you did, but I didn't. You are not an idiot. I've never thought otherwise. You know how you said that you liked me enough to push through? I mean, I loved you and all, but that shit was in the past. Even though I told you not to go with him after everything we had been through, my heart broke a little. My feelings were described to you, and it meant nothing. So whatever, as far as I was concerned, once you went off with him, then I couldn't give a shit if you came back or not. You feel like that about me? Well, trust me, you like hella fumbled forkin be converted to 4-H. I do not know if we will ever be possible. He pressed his plea. I do anything to make it up. In hindsight, I see that was a massive error. Is there anything I can do? You can kneel down and eat my whatever. I can't do that. I know you won't do that, so I guess that tells me how much your promise to do anything to save our marriage is worth. It's worth about as much as your promise to be faithful when we married. I was thinking about you all the way home today. I really want to make love to you tonight. I need you. You need me. I don't think so. As far as making love to me tonight, there's not much chance. Did you have little Frankie use a condom every time he screwed you? No, he's married, and I can't have children. Do you think you're the only one he's used that routine with? You are now damaged goods as far as I am concerned. There is no way I would touch you until you have a clean bill of health from a doctor. Also, I don't do seconds. I know he's clean, but you could use a condom if you don't think so. Right, I'm going to use a rubber to screw my wife after she let some loser bareback her all weekend. You chose little Frankie over me. I'm going out for a while. I really can't stomach looking at your cheating ass anymore tonight. You can sleep in the guest room tonight. I like the master bedroom better, and unlike you, I didn't do anything wrong. Can we talk about this? We can talk tomorrow after you get back from work. I really don't know what else there is to discuss. I walked out of the house and went to a nearby bar and grill to get some supper and clear my head. Actually, my head was clear as I knew exactly what I was doing. I just wanted to get away from her. I don't really drink, so I just ate, then went for a long walk. When I got home, she was in my bed. I looked at her and told her to get the hell out of my bed. This is our bed. I have just as much right to be here as you do. The hell you do. You gave up that right when you screwed little Frankie. So you either get out of my bed or I'll drag your sorry ass out of here and toss you in the street. She began crying and slowly left the room. I closed and locked the door behind her. I could hear her still crying as she walked down the hallway. In the morning, I completely ignored her. We each had breakfast, and as she was leaving at her normal time, she turned and looked at me and told me that she loved me. I gave her a very scornful look and said that I had loved her too, making sure to emphasize the past tense. I saw tears starting as she turned and walked away. When she was gone, I began packing her things in garbage bags. I packed her stuff until I called Frankie's wife, Sarah. I asked her if she knew that her husband spent the weekend with my wife. She thought he had been away on business, so when I offered her copies of my evidence, she was very enthusiastic about the idea. I was stunned when she opened the door. She was absolutely stunning. I was at a loss for words and had to apologize to her. I blamed it on being stunned by her beauty, which of course was the truth. We got down to business, and I explained what had occurred over the weekend. She was furious, and we decided she would accompany me to the lawyer's office and see if he would take her case. He actually ended up taking her case and gave us a bit of a discount. I talked to him while she started filling out the paperwork. I stood to support Sarah, asked him if I had to wait for Frankie. She would be all right, he said, as long as she signed the papers in advance. Mom and I had lunch while they were getting her papers in order. I drove her home after she signed and went back to my place waiting for Sarah's call. I was to call Sarah that evening and let her know how it went. My phone rang about 3 o'clock. She was not a happy camper. What the hell is this? What the hell is what? Now I just got served with divorce papers, and Frank is getting sued for something. But it seems a little self-explanatory to me. I told you there would be blowback. You apparently didn't take me seriously. I never expected you to do this. Perhaps a new alarm should have been set when you came in and asked me, then just maybe your little Frankie thing would not be filling your head with all this crap guy. I am not speaking about this over the phone. I will see you when I get to my house. Then I just hung up on her. I even threw the garbage bags of her stuff onto front lawn and waited in impatient anxiety for my basket case to return. She flew off the handle as soon as she pulled into our driveway. I recorded this because I wanted to be able to get a restraining order from me. Shouted at me and cursed with saliva spraying out from her mouth. I sat and listened as she ranted to me. I finally gave in and initiated our final conversation. Hire me, you need to hush so we can talk. If not, then I will put your things in their car and you can leave. You never give it another thought until, why are you doing this to me? Do this to you? You stupid woman, you did this to me and to us. I told you several times not to do this and even begged you not to destroy our marriage. You chose to destroy our marriage, so why would you think I wasn't going to divorce you? You said you loved me. I did. I loved you more than anything, and you broke my heart as a reward. The obvious problem is that you didn't love me or respect me. I can't live with someone who has that low of an opinion of me. But I do love you. If you loved me, you would not have gone and drilled little Frankie this weekend. Why do you keep calling him little Frankie? I have video cameras in your room and recorded the entire weekend. It should be obvious why I call him little. The first time I saw his pathetic tool, I laughed until I cried. I wondered if you could even feel it inside you. I noticed that you weren't climaxing like you do when I drill you. We don't drill. We make love. That is the main difference. I want to say that at least you are right. We did really made love. My guess is you are going to wish for that back. On the plus side, you can now fuck whoever. There are a drop-in new guy every night. I don't want that. I want you and only you. Come on in, let's sit down for a little while. I apologize, Earth, but I'm rather pissy right now. However, I would never ever cause you physical harm. Although this is not the case for tiny Frankie. We hopped in and sat at the table, where we always did. Finally, the final time we sat together like this struck me hard. This time she started it, and I tried to catch my cool a little bit as not talking all too mean to her. You can't possibly kill Frank, could you? Why not? My marriage used to be kind of happy in a naive way. I mean, he has got to pay more than my lawsuit and a divorce that is happening right. I mean, he is basically not getting a divorce. His wife understood what we were after touched, and she said that he felt it was okay for him to do this. You believe that. That was a sleazy move to make me appear like evil, because he wants at your body. The wife talked to me the morning, and I provided her with my evidence. He had said he was away on business. We are now sharing a lawyer. He'd even cut us a volume deal. I really do, you said, what every man says only to manipulate, and then turns around like it's my fault. You would have lost your mind a long time ago. He knew his wife would have nothing to do with that. I don't believe you. Never in a million years would he do something like that. I, even to this day, do not wish to listen at my word. Precisely why you should be divorced by now. On the other hand, I really couldn't care less what you believe. The next time you phone him, he will tell her where to go to. So you are literally throwing me out. I am. The night you told me about your plan, I went into the guest room to think. I knew within an hour that I would divorce you. I spent Thursday buying the equipment I needed to gather my evidence and to hack into your email account. Friday, I went to the lawyer and began the divorce process. Why didn't you tell me you were going to divorce me? I would have stopped. I don't think you would have. It would just have made you angrier. I explained to you several times how I felt, but the decision had to be yours. You had to be the one to stop it, or you would have been mad at me forever. I noticed in your emails that what I said meant nothing to you, so I was sure I was doing the right thing. I didn't sign the papers until the next Friday when you were getting ready for your date. I can't believe that I was that stupid. Is there any chance that you could forgive me? Sarah, I loved you so much that I might have been able to forgive you. Last night I gave you a last chance and you blew it. I think I could possibly forgive you, but I would never trust you. I would be waiting every day for you to tell me you wanted to drill somebody else. I can't live like that. It's better we just finish it right now." She broke down and cried. I went on. "Unlike you, I have given this a lot of thought, but I always come up with the same answer. I am going to divorce you, and I am going to destroy little Frankie like he destroyed my marriage. You can call him before you leave and share a place or whatever. Don't try to use your credit cards. They have all been canceled. I left half the money in our checking account for you, but I took my name off of it. I will split our savings with you. You can keep your car, but you will have to make the payments on it. The only thing you can have is your own clothes and belongings. After all, living in the place, you can have as much furniture as your home should. The house is mine. If I do sell it, I'll gladly split the money with you. It all states so clear in the divorce papers. If you resist, I will use all my evidence and it will ultimately blow up in your face. I don't want to do that, but will if I have to. I won't fight it. This is all my fault. I just want to say I regret it. Of course you know the difference between a light bulb and cheating wife. No, what is it? You could unscrew a light bulb. She thought it wasn't that much fun. I was like, bitch, your time is up, and released her from my house. I loaded all her stuff into the car while she watched, crying. I opened the door for her while it was packed and handed her one more thing. That was her wedding ring that I had pounded into a pancake with the hammer. I replied that by now it's just scrap gold for her to sell. Her door shut behind me, and I leaned down to kiss her forehead. I said my last words to her. "Goodbye, my love." I turned and walked back to my lonely house. I didn't even watch her drive away. I couldn't have, even if I wanted to. My eyes were filled with tears, and I cried for another hour until I was totally drained. It was time to consider my options. As I saw it, I had three. One, I could crawl inside a bottle and drink myself into a stupor. I barely drink and don't like the morning after, so that was no good. Two, I could make everyone happy and kill myself. I would not give her the satisfaction of doing that. Three, I could stand tall, clean, and clear that my moral actions were not your mistake. Time to move on with dignity. The major one would not having Sarah around. That made me smile. With a grin, I dialed Sarah's number. We organized having dinner together that night, and I knew the healing had begun. It could be we would still just in part become friends, or maybe if I play my cards right and keep repeating the photos of her walking around with hardly any clothes on through my mind like an hourglass, someone dropped it seemed so bad at a bowling alley, then perhaps I'd do even better next time.